everyone. I'm Sheldon Baker, and welcome to the 420 Area Code. You know, cannabis comes from different venues. One such place are sovereign nations where Indian tribes have distinct advantages over state licensed groups. What are those competitive advantages? Our guests will share background about tribal cannabis and CBD after this important message.
Not all hemp oils are created equal. Let Verdant Oasis show you why. Verdant Oasis is a vertically integrated hemp-centric raw material grower, manufacturer, and supplier. We oversee every step from soil to oil. Verdant strains are genotyped and registered by government-regulated seed banks. Our operations are HACCP and GMP certified by SGS International. Verdant Oasis has the most comprehensive global safety dossier for hemp extract, setting the benchmark for FDA acceptance and NDI compliance, the gateway to the food and beverage industry. Our hemp oil ingredients are accepted and authorized by the FDA, USDA, and DEA for interstate commerce throughout the United States. In the UK and EU, our extract is authorized as a novel food. Wholesome and pure, backed by science, legally compliant, and fully integrated with a dedicated innovation center to serve your unique marketing objectives. To learn more about the Verdant difference, visit our website at www.verdantoasis.com. Verdant Oasis, the essence of hemp.
Welcome back. My guest today is Mary Jane Oatman, the Executive Director of ICANNC, and we'll find out what that means. She's also the publisher and editor of THC Magazine, which stands for Tribal Hemp and Cannabis. Mary Jane, welcome to the show. Welcome to the 420 Area Code.
Well, thank you. And hello, everybody that's listening. It's an honor and a privilege to join your show and share everything that's going on with the Indigenous Cannabis Coalition, as well as the work that we do with THC Magazine, which there's a lot of updates.
Great. Well, we'll hear a little bit about it today. ICANNC, what does that mean?
So you know how it is with pretty much anywhere where you see that marketing and brand development. What we did with the Indigenous Cannabis Coalition is just, lopped off the I, kept the can in cannabis, and then the C with the coalition. We started in 2019, formally as an organization, as a 501c3. And we really wanted to capture the ICANNC 2020, with tribes in cannabis when we started out. So that was a part of our, I guess you could say, our media shtick when we first started out, to get people aware of what we were doing with the Indigenous Cannabis Coalition. And we planned to, keep it. ICANNC is the short version of the Indigenous Cannabis Coalition.
It's almost an acronym versus just letters, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So cannabis sovereignty for Indian tribes, it's somewhat unknown. Yes?
Well, it definitely is. Anytime that we talk about federal prohibition and the history of how this very sacred, powerful medicine has been eliminated from the access and conscience of Americans, is that none of that history or prehistory includes the fact that Indigenous communities already had a presence of cordage and fiber in economy, as well as plant medicines. And so much so that the Jefferson Peace Medal includes the peace pipe on it as an attempt to further persuade the indigenous peoples out west to negotiate the treaties and the land negotiations. So it almost feels like it's quite purposeful.
Hmm. Are there many opportunities at various levels for cannabis tribes to get involved in cannabis and CBD?
Oh, most definitely. We have the Iowa tribe of Kansas and Nebraska, probably set to be one of the leading hempcrete producers in the nation. They have a vast amount of agricultural lands and have already dug in deep on the fiber side, on the fiber side of the industry. And so we have, tribes that maybe we're taking the baby steps towards, an economy on fiber, but we have tribes that are fully vertically integrated with their own testing facilities. And those are kind of like the beacon tribes of, for other tribes that are operating in a place of fear and moving forward with even having the conversation about changing their law and order code just to decriminalize for housing. I mean, in some tribal communities, people are still getting evicted from housing, from their homes over cannabis, losing their jobs over cannabis. And then, some tribes are, already making very, lucrative returns and able to give back to community programs with their shares.
Are there tribes in all 50 states that are part of the cannabis and CBD community?
Not, I guess, not in in a free and open market necessarily. I mean, I'm from Idaho. I'm a member of the Nez Perce tribe, and my tribe was the first tribe in Idaho to get approved by the USDA to cultivate hemp under the Farm Bill. But we are not operational yet. We are still in the strategic planning mode of, fiber versus flower. So I would say the short answer to that is no, because a lot of tribes are still, even with the Cole Wilkinson memorandum and some of that guidance, there were tribes still afraid to move forward. And since, that was rescinded under the Trump administration, tribes have experienced federal raids for small scale cultivation. Tribal communities under the Biden administration are still experiencing raids by the federal government. Just in November, the Piquerías Pueblo had a raid of a medical cultivation of only 9 plants. So that sends the message to other tribes that there's no home base on an Indian reservation for cultivating cannabis.
And I think you really kind of touched on it. You talked about the Trump administration. So we're talking about a conservative political situation. And certainly where you are in Idaho, I think, you have a conservative government that's really going to frown upon what you folks do.
Oh, most definitely. That's why we're really working to unify tribes that are in cannabis to issue a letter and a petition to the United States Department of Justice and Attorney General Merrick Garland to urge him to either reissue the Cole Wilkinson memorandum or authorize his own memorandum that threads in the Biden administration's priorities, which included upholding the federal trust responsibility. It's really sad that one of those federal raids has happened since the Biden administration has amplified the important message of protecting tribes, tribal economies and communities and building nations. And then, you turn around and have a federal raid on in a state where it's medically legal, on a property where the family had not only a tribal medical permit, but a state medical permit as well. And the tribal, the governor of that pueblo has been very outspoken that they authorize, their community to be able to cultivate their own medicine.
So based on what you're saying is that virtually all the cannabis laws that are out there for everyone, for the general population, also applies to the tribal community.
Oh, definitely. There's no tribes that are, I shouldn't say none. In California, because tribes were left out of opportunities to compact with the state, there are tribes in California that are running what you would consider essentially, tribal sovereignty in cannabis. There's another tribe that's doing it as well. That's really interesting. I think that this is kind of one to watch a little bit more, because in a state where you have contentious state tribal relations and you have a tribe moving forward, more of an adversarial position with the state, and then the feds don't intervene and they open up large scale cannabis enterprises, you're wondering, like, how can that tribe do it, but this tribe can't? And you realize at the end of the day that, the political nature of everything is always an issue. The Bay Mills Indian community in Michigan, they're operating their cannabis dispensary and getting ready to open up a second one with a huge attraction for tourism on their reservation. And they're not compacted with the state of Michigan. Ironically, and this is where I think all of the tribes should really be, trying to figure out what this formula is. Their tribal chairman that they executed this entire business plan under is now the Assistant Secretary of the United States Department of Interior. He's just one person under Deb Haaland at Interior, and his community has experienced 0 raids.
Yeah. So, what got you involved in the cannabis CBD portion of tribal business?
Well, on the policy side, I was an appointee under the Obama administration for the National Advisory Council on Indian Education. And during that same time that we're, moving full steam ahead on education reform and priorities, the nation was teeing up the Farm Bill, and tribes were left out of the 2014 version. And so on the policy side of it, that's when the pendulum started to shift with my professional work. However, I've been a cannabis consumer since in utero. My mother used cannabis full term during her pregnancy. My grandmother went to federal prison for cultivating cannabis on the Nez Perce Indian Reservation. And then in addition to that, I come from a people that have a long oral history of healing with plant medicines, including cannabis, prior to European invasion on our homelands. And so that's why I think when I mentioned earlier that it seems quite purposeful, is that the narrative of cannabis on this continent only starts with European settlement. I think we got something a little bit wrong going on there. If the cultural pattern and traditions show that we have had a very long-standing relationship as cordage economies from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Sounds like it's quite a challenging situation that you face and that the tribes have to face and have to deal with.
It definitely is. At the end of the day, the competition over resources, land and water will undoubtedly either create more opportunity for tribes or create more obstacles and challenges for them. And so that's why at the Indigenous Cannabis Coalition, we work to position tribes to work together, synthesize what those priorities that they can agree on are, and move forward with those in a unified voice.
Fantastic. We had the opportunity to meet late last year at a cannabis industry cannabis trade show, and delightful meeting you. Did you find that helpful in making contacts in what you want to do and furthering your work?
Oh, definitely. It helped me on the personal side in being able to network with professionals that can help grow and build the business side of what I do with the Indigenous Cannabis Coalition. I mean, one of them, she's an amazing coach. And I realized that I kind of did need a coach in my life, just a professional to consult with 1 hour a month to just make sure that things are on track and moving forward, and to just kind of shift and refocus. Because, when you take on a lot and you do a lot, sometimes you want to just think about the deficits or the negative things, what you're not getting done or what you haven't accomplished, to just kind of coach you into operating from a strengths-based place. But on the tribal side, most definitely, I got to meet other tribal cannabis consultants that had gathered to learn. And that's just where it is. It's all about education and advocacy. So what I was doing prior is not really any different. People are captive and want to hear the information, most definitely. So, professionally and personally, the NCIA San Francisco Business Summit was a success.
Yes, a really a great place to network and and meet people. Absolutely. That's what trade shows are all about, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Well, since the NCIA has started the diversity, equity, and inclusion work, I have been able to collaborate with Mike Lumoto and their offices, Morgan Fox, who just recently left NCIA to go over to work at Normal. Amy Rose, they've got a phenomenal, staff that have, some big vision and are really meaningful about inclusivity.
Fantastic. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about THC Magazine and how that got started and how that's working for you. So everybody out there, stick around, come on back, and we'll talk more with Mary Jane Oatman. Don't go away.
Not all hemp oils are created equal. Let Verdant Oasis show you why. Verdant Oasis is a vertically integrated hemp-centric raw material grower, manufacturer, and supplier. We oversee every step from soil to oil. Verdant strains are genotyped and registered by government-regulated seed banks. Our operations are HACCP and GMP certified by SGS International. Verdant Oasis has the most comprehensive global safety dossier for hemp extract, setting the benchmark for FDA acceptance and NDI compliance, the gateway to the food and beverage industry. Our hemp oil ingredients are accepted and authorized by the FDA, USDA, and DEA for interstate commerce throughout the United States. In the UK and EU, our extract is authorized as a novel food. Wholesome and pure, backed by science, legally compliant, and fully integrated with a dedicated innovation center to serve your unique marketing objectives. To learn more about the Verdant difference, visit our website at www.verdantoasis.com. Verdant Oasis, the essence of hemp.
We're back on the 420 area code, and my guest today is Mary Jane Oatman. And Mary Jane is executive director. You have a lot of titles. You're executive director of the NCANNC. You are a publisher and editor of the THC Magazine. You wear a lot of hats, including the one you're wearing today. And so, I saw the magazine. I happened to be in the press room at the show in San Francisco last year, saw the magazine, and then kind of bumped into you later on, maybe the next day. And tell us about the magazine, how long you've been publishing, how that got started, and the great success you've had with it.
Well, the Indigenous Cannabis Coalition is definitely about the protection of tribal sovereignty and elevating what's happening with tribes in hemp and cannabis. And the education and advocacy component of our organization is THC Magazine. Tribal Hemp and Cannabis Magazine is the nation's first and only that's dedicated exclusively to what tribes are doing in the industry. And it was an original part of the plan and the fabric of the Indigenous Cannabis Coalition based on my past work that I've done in nonprofits. So I was the youngest ever president of the National Indian Education Association, and I served in that capacity while we executed the White House executive order on American Indian and Alaska Native education. And getting educational materials into rural communities, rural Indigenous communities, is really critical to move forward with certain areas of policies. And Tribal Hemp and Cannabis Magazine is, about the preservation of what's happening now, because it's historic. I mean, just on a global scale, what's happening right now is just truly historic. But I was well aware that this is like me coming in, as the granddaughter of somebody who was federally incarcerated. I knew that there were so many other stories like that, or there were warriors on the front line, like Winona LaDuke, that has been an ambassador of plant medicine. Alex White Plume, who I first heard about when I was a high school student and what his family was doing. And so, when I started the concept and just some of the early planning stages, it was with that goal of like, I got all of these celebrity crushes on all these tribal, I guess you could say, activists, plant activists. And so I thought, well, this is going to be a great way to interview them and share their stories. So THC Magazine came up with our first issue, formulated in November of 2019 was when we started working on it, and launched our first 10,000 copies in February of 2020. And we took our launch party to the National Congress of American Indians Executive Winter Council. And while we were there, we were like, we're going to host it and we're going to do this big. So we worked in collaboration with a nonprofit called King Weedy Collective in Washington, D.C. And we were able to get their mansion as a space to host the nation's first tribal cannabis mixer, and invited all of the elected leaders there. And some of them showed up. It was really neat to be in that space where it was not just a booze-fueled environment, but more of a social mixer around cannabis. And we had one confirmed guest that said that they were not going to be able to make it, which just broke my heart. And that was then Congresswoman Deb Haaland. She had written a written contribution for the first issue of the magazine and was all on board with adult use legalization. It had been part of the work that she'd done in Congress. But she did one thing better. If you ever, get a chance, check out the www.Indigenous Cannabis Coalition website. We have a wonderful video from former Congresswoman, now Secretary of Interior, Deb Haaland, speaking to tribes about how important it is for them to decide for themselves, what the protection of tribal sovereignty looks like in cannabis. But she is definitely pro-adult, and she's adult use legalization. That was back when those terms were thrown around quite a bit. The vernacular in the industry changes as we move along, but she's definitely about safe, quality access.
Have you had a chance to sit down with her and talk about and voice your concerns? Of course, I'm certain she's aware of a lot of those concerns, if not all of them. But have you had a chance to actually sit down with her, or at least do a virtual with her?
I have not. I submitted a formal request for an interview and it was declined, sadly. Maybe it was also the timing of what was going on, but we have some other channels to be able to to drive those issues forward. And one of the things that remains constant is when we submitted our first case of magazines to her New Mexico as well as her Washington D.C. offices. So she distributes THC Magazine as education and advocacy from her former offices. She said that they were gone within the first couple of weeks and her staffers were calling to reorder more cases of that magazine publication. So I never would, called quicker than the dispensaries. I had never had a dispensary run out as quick as a congressional office ran out of such a unique publication. And that's also where we're at is, we lie in print almost exclusively with some, digital download. So we're really looking at, finding creative resources so that we can have more of an immersive digital experience. We're doing that, trying to integrate that into the print publication. And that's why we also know that it's really, really important to be consistent and to just keep going. Like the pandemic was questionable. And even now with the supply chain issues that we experience, I was contacted last month by one of where I get the magazine printed saying, we are eliminating our gloss magazine print. So you're going to have to find a new home. So I never know what's going to be thrown at me, but just like, my ancestors, very resilient to keep driving forward.
Yes. These days, it's always something. We only have a few minutes, but I really want to get into, you recently dedicated an edition of your publication to Indigenous children whose remains were discovered in unmarked graves at a former Indian school. Tell us about this sad discovery and how you got involved. We only have a few minutes, but I'd like to share some of your story.
My grandmother, who is on the cover of the very first issue of THC Magazine that I spoke of earlier, going to federal prison over cannabis, She is a survivor of a residential boarding school. She was a product of alcoholism in a single family home where she had no choice. Her and her siblings, were sent to a boarding school. And the boarding school experiences in the lower 48, while they may not have the same public trauma that was unveiled, we do still have a lot of those experiences. I grew up of hearing a lot of my elders' experiences of those boarding school traumas. I have an aunt that was sent to a boarding school and impregnated by a staff member and had a miscarriage in the toilet at the residential school. And this is family of mine that I didn't hear about these stories until I was an adult. And it just really, I guess for me, I realized that THC Magazine has the capacity to propel issues that are tied to our land and our people's struggles to this day. And we see that kind of come full circle in cannabis as we strive to heal ourselves and heal our communities with plant medicine. And we still have so much interference from government just trying to live our lives.
Yeah. So, what made you, get behind that program of the missing children?
So, on the fourth issue of THC Magazine, we actually featured the Missing Murdered Indigenous Women campaign. And so when Indigenous women in hemp and cannabis, so every issue kind of has a cover theme. It's not a theme that drives throughout the entirety of the magazine, but the covers of any magazine really have an opportunity to propel certain messages. And, for us, when we were working on that specific issue, we did not have a specific cover secured as we were designing the magazine. And then it just went out all across the press. And every time we would read a new article, the number was steadily increasing. So that was one thing that made it a challenge, was we were just getting ready to go to print. And then there was another news release that the count rose in the number of unmarked graves that were found, because our original cover, we had 712.
Wow. Sad, very, very sad. We have just about a minute. Our viewers, if our viewers want to get a hold of you, they want a copy of the magazine, what's the best way to do that?
Well, we can be found at every single tribally owned and operated dispensary across the nation. If you are a dispensary owner and you want to have THC Magazine at your location to share the education and the love from tribal hemp and cannabis communities, look for us on the website, indigenouscannabiscoalition.com. That's how you get all your free downloads. That's how you find out how to advertise with THC Magazine. If you feel so compelled on sponsoring and supporting the work that we do, it's all on our website, indigenouscannabiscoalition.com.
Fantastic. Mary Jane Oatman, thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you at another trade show down the line. Take care of yourself. Good luck. And we'll see you next time, folks. Thanks for joining us on the 420 area code.
Not all hemp oils are created equal. Let Verdant Oasis show you why. Verdant Oasis is a vertically integrated hemp-centric raw material grower, manufacturer, and supplier. We oversee every step from soil to oil. Verdant strains are genotyped and registered by government-regulated seed banks. Our operations are HACCP and GMP certified by SGS International. Verdant Oasis has the most comprehensive global safety dossier for hemp extract, setting the benchmark for FDA acceptance and NDI compliance, the gateway to the food and beverage industry. Our hemp oil ingredients are accepted and authorized by the FDA, USDA, and DEA for interstate commerce throughout the United States. In the UK and EU, our extract is authorized as a novel food. Wholesome and pure, backed by science, legally compliant, and fully integrated with a dedicated innovation center to serve your unique marketing objectives. To learn more about the Verdant difference, visit our website at www.verdant.com. VerdantOasis.com. Verdant Oasis, the essence of hemp.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sheldon Baker, and welcome to the 420 area code. Great to have you here. On today's show, we're going to discuss a taboo subject, so make sure the kids are in the other room. My guests are the founders of Hello Again and the brains behind products made for women. And when I say hello again, I'm not talking about the Neil Diamond song or the TV show. When we come back, we'll find out what's taboo and why such products were created. So stick around. Come on back after this break.
Not all hemp oils are created equal. Let Verdant Oasis show you why. Verdant Oasis is a vertically integrated hemp-centric raw material grower, manufacturer, and supplier. We oversee every step from soil to oil. Verdant strains are genotyped and registered by government-regulated seed banks. Our operations are HACCP and GMP certified by SGS International. Verdant Oasis has the most comprehensive global safety dossier for hemp extract, setting the benchmark for FDA acceptance and NDI compliance, the gateway to the food and beverage industry. Our hemp oil ingredients are accepted and authorized by the FDA, USDA, and DEA for interstate commerce throughout the United States. In the UK and EU, our extract is authorized as a novel food. Wholesome and pure, backed by science, legally compliant, and fully integrated with a dedicated innovation center to serve your unique marketing objectives. To learn more about the Verdant difference, visit our website at www.verdantoasis.com. Verdant Oasis, the essence of hemp.
Welcome back to the 420 area code. So what's the taboo subject? It's suppositories for women, but not just any suppositories. It's suppositories formulated with cannabis. And please welcome my guests today, Carrie Mapes and Patty Pappas, who are the co-founders of Hello Again. Welcome.
Thanks for having us. Yes, this is great.
Fantastic. I've been hearing a lot about you and checked out your website and some very interesting things that you've done. First of all, why don't you provide some background as to how you both met many years ago, what inspired you, what it was like being first-time entrepreneurs at the young age of 50 or so. It's an interesting story, so share it with our viewers.
Carrie and I have known each other for quite some time. We met when our oldest children were in preschool, and we embarked on this endeavor when our youngest went off to college. So we had just become empty nesters, and we had decided to look into some dispensaries just to see what all the kind of the hubbub was about, because it had just become legal and we were hearing a lot about it. Carrie and I, neither of us had had a real relationship with cannabis before, so this was going to be a new experience. And we really set out and found a dispensary and walked in one day and started learning about the cannabis plant and how we felt. What we heard was that it could be a real source of wellness for women like us.
And what was the next step?
Well, we, as Patty said, we drew a line between what we were hearing cannabis could do and how it worked in the body. We drew a line between that and what we were experiencing as women in menopause and what we knew our friends were experiencing. And we got in the car, and honestly, it was the first time Patty and I had talked to each other about what we were experiencing in menopause. So, you were talking about how it's taboo. Here, Patty and I have been friends for a long time, but we'd never talked about it before. But Cannabis addresses sleep. It addresses anxiety and mood. It addresses pain. It can help regulate your temperature. Hot flashes is a huge part of going through menopause. It can help you with calm and focus. And that was one thing I was really struggling with, was brain fog and memory problems. And it was all related to my systems being in chaos because of the hormonal changes of menopause. So we really felt like we had something. And really, at first blush, it looked like a marketing problem, because it was back, dispensaries were newer then than they are now. They're really beautiful now, and there's so many beautifully branded products now. But at the time, there was nothing, everything was black and shiny and gold and green. And there was nothing that really appealed to us from a marketing standpoint. Mm-hmm. And also because we didn't want to smoke or vape, that narrowed it down as well. So looking around, we thought, gosh, nobody's marketing to us. And then when we took a deeper dive, we realized it's not just that. It's just actually the product that we're craving doesn't exist. And that meant something that we could rely upon to be consistent, not only consistent for me, use to use, but consistent between Patty's experience and my experience. And then also something that didn't provide a high, because we were pretty convinced that cannabis could really lift all of these symptoms that keep you from feeling like yourself. But we wanted to be able to use it in the morning to enjoy the benefits of it without the psychoactive high. So we could get on with all the stuff that we do. And we know women, our age, are living big, vibrant lives and have responsibilities. So those were the two kind of pillars for formulating our product. And then from there, we went from Googling everything and reading everything to reaching out to people, or just letting people know, friends of ours, just know what we were thinking. And sure enough, like somebody knew somebody who had something to do with cannabis, and we learned a lot that way as well. But we finally found the right formulation partners and professional formulators, and once we met them, we really started clicking and realized, no, this definitely needs to exist. This product needs to exist.
Well, certainly, Carrie, you and Patty, it certainly looks like the product is working for you. You both look great.
Thank you.
And you said you didn't want to smoke or vape. Were you using, and this is for both of you, but Carrie, we'll start with you. Were you using cannabis in any form
I wasn't.
Initially?
No. In fact, on that first day, I think my purchase was actually a cannabis-based CBD product. It didn't even have any THC in it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's fairly typical for a lot of women my age. We grew up in the war on drugs, and the DARE officer came to school, and the fried egg in the pan. And, it was just different. It was different, and a different time. And the plant was different too. What was out there was different. And so no, I had no relationship. I didn't want to, my family doesn't have a great track record with smoking. So I just didn't, it wasn't time for me there's no reason for me to start. Mm-hmm. And that was my story. Patty?
Well, I did explore some of the products probably sooner than Carrie did. And again, what we didn't find, there were various products. This one can help you with sleep. This strain can help you with anxiety, something else could help you with pain relief, but there was nothing, I don't want to take 5 things. So, and again, I didn't want to start smoking, and I want to be able to get about my day. I also want to get a good night's sleep and not wake up feeling groggy or not be able to function in the middle of the night if I have to get up for any reason. So again, I experimented with a lot of the products that were out there, and then when the solution was presented to us to become a vaginal suppository, everything fell into place, because that was a delivery method that we could use that could provide relief for really all those symptoms in one product. And a symptom that we hadn't even thought of as something we could address, which was vaginal dryness, which is something that women have as they age with their hormonal changes. So that was just like an added bonus. And Carrie and I both like sort of the poeticness of taking that space back that's been used for many years for everybody else's purposes, and babies and things are going in and out of there. And now we're going to take it back and use it as our source of wellness. That was just the perfect, the icing on the cake for us. So once we came up with that delivery method and we realized we could really accomplish everything we wanted to accomplish, it took off from there.
And perhaps, you've stated this, but what was the one thing, would you say, was that turned on the light bulb went on when you said, this is what we need to do?
I think it's when we decided it was the vaginal suppository. Would you say so, Carrie?
Yeah, I agree.
And then we knew we were in business when we put the deposit down on a suppository filling machine. Then we knew there was no coming back. So that was when we knew we were going into business. But I think that decision to say, how much harder could we make going into business for the first time on ourselves? First, we're going to address something for menopause, which isn't, always commonly addressed. Then we're going to make it a cannabis product, which a lot of our age group maybe isn't as comfortable using. And then third, we're going to now make it a vaginal suppository. So we kind of, it had to be, even though it was going to be the hardest sort of solution, it was the best solution. So we knew we had to do it that way.
And at that time or now, do you have any competition? What else is out there?
There was a product on the market in the beginning that was a good product. It was more of an end of day. It was very strong. You definitely could get high from it. I've tried it. It's not on the market currently. So we feel like we really do are a big presence out there in the cannabis space for sure.
There was definitely white space when it came to menopause products for women in dispensaries.
Surprise.
We surprise.
You are the leaders.
We are. Yeah, we exist there.
So when you
doing our meetings and presentations to people, we realized, women our age walk into a dispensary, we're not only buying for ourselves, we're buying for maybe our aging parents, maybe our husband's knee issue, maybe our dog who has anxiety. I mean, we're multiple markets in one. And so that was very attractive and helped sort of get us through the doors in the beginning.
What does your family think? So you guys are nuts. What do you mean, a cannabis suppository?
Yeah, I think they were hoping for an edible or something like that.
So Patty has 3 daughters, all adult daughters, and I have 1, and then I have a son as well. And, at first, I think we're going to go into the cannabis business, and then we're definitely going to the cannabis business. It's a vaginal suppository.
And then all the air came out of that balloon, huh?
Yeah.
So when you think about your customers, what are your challenges, if any, to get them to try a feminine product with cannabis?
Well, we knew from the beginning that our product was going to rely upon really slow organic growth. I mean, that referrals from between women to women for intimate products like this that's the number one way that products like ours grow. So, we're prepared for that. We have a couple different subcategories of our demographic. We have the women who've never been to dispensaries before, and we have the women who are already going into dispensaries. And then we also have women who know that they're feeling the way they're feeling because of menopause, and people who haven't figured out that they're feeling the way that they're feeling because of menopause. So we have a lot of different messaging that we have to pay attention to. But, women have to hear things 6-7 times before it kind of sinks in. That's a well-known marketing fact. And we're patient. We reach them through social media, and we reach them, through our newsletter and podcasts like yours. So thank you for having us. Absolutely.
So you never thought you'd be, on a television-like show talking about it, though, huh?
Not in a million years.
The list of the things that I never thought I'd be doing that have happened in the last 3 years is too long to even consider. I mean, I'm so grateful to the product because I feel good, first of all. And secondly, because it's my life just took a left-hand turn into entrepreneurism and having a terrific business partnership with Patty, and then stretching myself. I mean, I remember the first time we did one of these, I didn't know what Zoom was. We had a panic attack trying to get the technology to work. Every single step along the way, we've been learning and growing, and I don't take that for granted, especially during COVID when so much is stagnant. And so we're lucky women.
Patty, can you add to that, what Carrie had to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think COVID was interesting for us because I think initially our friends and family were kind of like, what are you guys doing? Cannabis? I'm not sure, a little bit hesitant. But staying home for month after month after month, drinking a bottle of Chardonnay every night does nobody any favors. So eventually, we kept telling people it actually makes you feel good. It actually makes you feel good. And that sort of opened up a lot of interest, I think, more so in our product than it would have happened maybe even without COVID, we'll never know, but I think it made people explore the idea sooner than later.
Sure, yeah. COVID kind of spoiled the party for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
don't feel you're the only one. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk some more to Patty and Carrie about cannabis formulated suppositories. What else is there to do? So stick around. We'll be right back.
Not all hemp oils are created equal. Let Verdant Oasis show you why. Verdant Oasis is a vertically integrated hemp-centric raw material grower, manufacturer, and supplier. We oversee every step from soil to oil. Verdant strains are genotyped and registered by government-regulated seed banks. Our operations are HACCP and GMP certified by SGS International. Verdant Oasis has the most comprehensive global safety dossier for hemp extract, setting the benchmark for FDA acceptance and NDI compliance, the gateway to the food and beverage industry. Our hemp oil ingredients are accepted and authorized by the FDA, USDA, and DEA for interstate commerce throughout the United States. In the UK and EU, our extract is authorized as a novel food. Wholesome and pure, backed by science, legally compliant, and fully integrated with a dedicated innovation center to serve your unique marketing objectives. To learn more about the Verdant difference, visit our website at www.verdantoasis.com. Verdant Oasis, the essence of hemp.
We're back, and in case you didn't know it, you're watching the 420 area code. I'm Sheldon Baker, and my guests today, delighted to have Patty Pappas and Carrie Mapes. We're talking about vaginal suppositories on a Tuesday afternoon. Of course, you may be somewhere else watching this on another day, but what the heck, all these days run together. So what's the science behind the product? Who wants to talk about that? Is that you first, Patty?
Okay. Well, for a vaginal supply, actually, this is Carrie's general thing. I'm going
to. Well, Patty could do this very well, but I'll go ahead. So, our product really takes advantage of a couple different things. Number one, talked earlier about consistency. And so one of the reasons that we can rely on a consistent experience with a vaginal suppository is it bypasses the digestive tract and the liver. So by bypassing the digestion, we eliminate factors like your size, your metabolism, if you've just eaten, if you've just exercised. So we're taking that out of the equation. And then by bypassing the liver, we're also able to eliminate psychoactivity because it's in the breakdown of THC in the liver that the byproduct of that is also psychoactive. So what we're not doing is important, but what we are doing is just as important, which is putting the suppository right where you have a lot of endocannabinoid receptors. The brain is the most dense place, but the female reproductive tract has a lot of receptors for the cannabinoids. So we're really relying on that local application. It also has blood vessels and capillaries, which I think help elongate the effects of the suppository. But the psychoactivity we're just able to eliminate by kind of finding the sweet spot of using enough THC to get an effect without too much that would eventually, if you get 100 milligrams in there, you could get high, but we don't. Sometimes people call us a low dose product. We're actually not. We've got 20 milligrams of THC in our nighttime, our sleep suppository, but because it's a suppository, you don't get the psychoactive high even with that much.
Did you know all this, Carrie, before you had to learn all this?
Absolutely had to learn all this. And so many people were so helpful to both Patty and I. At top of the list would be our formulators and our manufacturing partners. They've just been great. But yeah, no, I can't tell you, we've learned so much. I had no idea about why cannabis even worked in the body and how it worked. And I now do. I know a lot. I know a lot about a lot of things now.
So you're the science person, the in-house science person now, right?
Well, I enjoy that part of it. It's funny, Patty and I, we just kind of fallen into a division of responsibility, and it's really been based on what we enjoy doing, which is really nice. So, but we also have medical consultants and all kinds of experts.
But within the company, it's just the two of you, or do you have staff?
We have a marketing director as well, Hallman, who's terrific.
Fantastic. Okay. So, because menopause and cannabis are both, can be a taboo subject at times, or maybe all the time, how are you hoping that your products can change the conversation around menopause and cannabis?
Well, I think, especially the conversation about menopause, and when we talk about menopause, we're actually really talking about perimenopause, which is the kind of the years leading up to your last period, right? So by the time you have your last period, you're sort of almost through all the parts where the symptoms happen. I mean, I had symptoms for up to 10 years and never talked about it with anybody, and I really never did anything about it. So I think, what was exciting for Carrie and I when we started this is, one, we could start a dialogue about menopause, and that helps us in the cannabis business because we can lean into that menopause and wellness message for women in general. And then also just spreading the word about cannabis to women our age and women everywhere as a wellness option, because we got so excited about it and found out so much potential that it has that we're excited to share it. But it's education, education, education.
Yeah. I really, one thing I love about our branding, and Patty and I agreed on this from the very beginning, we did not want to be whiny or complain or talk about how much we suffer and how hard it is. This is a great time of life. It really is. And for many people, maybe your child rearing responsibilities are coming to a close, or they're less than they used to be. And you might have a little bit more time to pivot in life. There's something that happens to the brain when you go through a hormonal change. You start thinking differently, and you have a different outlook on life. And I think it's much healthier. You think a lot less about what people think, and you think a lot more about how you want to spend your time. And all of that is a great part of this phase of life. And I think our messaging and our branding all reflect that. It's important to me that it does.
Well, what took me down was lack of sleep. I could not get a good night's sleep to save my life. So, I mean, when you can sleep well, and hence the name Hello Again, because when you can peel back the symptoms of not sleeping, of pain, of anxiety, of all the things, mood, when you can peel those back, you feel like yourself again. And that's often something women say when they're going through all these changes is, I just want to feel like myself again. Why aren't I feeling like myself again? So that's where we came up with the name Hello Again. It's basically just to say hello to yourself again.
So I think if I heard you correctly, you're helping women at different stages of their life. What is that actual demographic that you're targeting?
Well, we're customer founders. We definitely formulated this product for ourselves, but after being on the market for a pretty short time, actually, younger women were using the product as well, because if you think about the way it's applied, period cramps, anxiety, we got a lot of feedback from women who had endometriosis. It's also helping women of younger ages. So we like to think of it, we formulated for menopause, but we're helping women of all ages.
Does this indirectly help men?
I would imagine.
I would say that
Good night's sleep, and is in a good mood, and is not irritated, and is not dry, good things will happen.
Very good. How about doctors? Did you include healthcare professionals when you were formulating this product? Did you get their input?
we did. We had a couple of different medical consultants. One was already using cannabis for palliative care, who helped us a lot with getting the ratios right. And we have a doctor who's our medical consultant. She's an OBGYN that uses cannabis in her practice. And we had a medical cannabis researcher, actually, who was really helpful to us as well.
You've got two products, daytime, nighttime. Just just like it says, one's for day and one's for night. How is it packaged? Are you able to explain that? I know when I was in high school, I worked in the local drugstore, and I know how suppositories were packaged back then. And we used to have customers coming in saying it didn't work, and they didn't take the individual packaging off the suppository.
Oh my gosh.
True story.
Haven't heard. I'm
True story. True story. How are you packaged?
I suspect it's an awful lot like it was back then. I don't think those shells have changed very often. I don't know if Carrie has when they're with her, but we have regulations in the cannabis space that we have to abide by for safety reasons. Mm-hmm. So initially it comes in these boxes, and then you open it up, and we're within a approved child-proof pouch. Mm-hmm. That you can take scissors to, or you can learn how to open specifically in a certain way. And then inside the child-proof pouch is the suppository, which Carrie has,
which comes like this, and no scissors needed. You just pull apart. I won't fully open it, but you pull apart the packaging, and inside is the suppository, cocoa butter based. Some other things in there: avocado oil, vitamin E. But the question's not silly. We just made a little how to insert your vaginal suppository video, because we did get questions. So
I know, yes.
Important to know that, again, because of its delivery method and the way we can make our suppositories, we can add added botanicals that women have been using since the beginning of time to help them feel better. So, obviously, like in the sleep formula, we can have chamomile, neroli oil, things that help promote calmness, soothing, sleep, and the same in the everyday. So we really get to pack a lot into our little magic suppository.
Fantastic. So what's on the horizon? The product has been around for just really relatively a short time. You're getting some great exposure in the media. What's next? Other products? Have you thought about what's next?
Yes, so we are formulating new SKUs specifically for some of the other uses that people have found for our product, but we think we can formulate more specifically for younger women. And then we get inquiries all the time from other states. So we are hoping to bring Hello Again to other states shortly in 2022.
So
and then the world.
Mm-hmm. And then the world, yes, absolutely. That's your goal. So today, where can our viewers find your product, or how can they buy your product?
So we're in 52-ish, between almost 60 dispensaries and delivery services in California. So you can we have a store locator on our website, which is helloagainproducts.com. But in the Central Valley, we're at People's Remedy and Grupo Flor and East of Eden, Three Bros, and Element 7.
Also buy it online on your website?
You can't sell it directly online because of, again, cannabis regulations, but you can definitely go on our website, and hopefully if there's a delivery service near you, it can feel like you're sort of buying it online, but they'll deliver it to you if we're in your...
And what's an average price point? I know it could vary in different parts of the state.
So right. a box of 8 suppositories is around $45 or so. So that's, the same as a latte or something like that, or cold pressed juice for a good night's sleep, because there are 8 suppositories in there. We also have these little 2-packs that are obviously less expensive and a great way to either try it out or have a little 2-pack for your purse.
Fantastic. It's been great having both of you on the show. It's been a fantastic interview. We've been talking to Carrie Mapes and Patty Pappas, the co-founders of Hello Again. Continued success to you, and we'll talk again maybe down the road when you introduce new products, okay?
We'd like that.
Great. Thanks, everybody, for watching us. 420 Area Code is here every week, and we'll see you again next week. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Not all hemp oils are created equal. Let Verdette Oasis show you why. Verdette Oasis is a vertically integrated hemp-centric raw material grower, manufacturer, and supplier. We oversee every step from soil to oil. Verdant strains are genotyped and registered by government-regulated seed banks. Our operations are HACCP and GMP certified by SGS International. Verdant Oasis has the most comprehensive global safety dossier for hemp extract, setting the benchmark for FDA acceptance and NDI compliance, the gateway to the food and beverage industry. Our hemp oil ingredients are accepted and authorized by the FDA, USDA, and DEA for interstate commerce throughout the United States. In the UK and EU, our extract is authorized as a novel food. Wholesome and pure, backed by science, legally compliant, and fully integrated with a dedicated innovation center to serve your unique marketing objectives. To learn more about the Verdant difference, visit our website at www.verdantoasis.com. Verdant Oasis, the essence of hemp.